It's time for Dodger Baseball. Live from Dodger Stadium, Sportsnet LA presents the Dodgers as they take on the San Diego Padres. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant Wednesday to you, wherever you may be. Welcome to Dodger Stadium for the rubber game, the Dodgers and the Padres. The pitching for tonight, Brandon McCarthy making his debut as a Dodger. Brandon last year had a strange record. He was 3-10 with Arizona. Then he went to the Yankees, and he was 7-5. The difference, the Yankees allowed him to throw his cutter, a pitch that the Arizona Diamondbacks did not want him to throw. And McCarthy, 2-0 against San Diego last year, 4-1 lifetime. On the mound for the Padres, big Andrew Cashner. He's as big as Tyson Ross, 6 feet 6 inches tall. Cashner, a tough hombre, but he had elbow problems, shoulder problems last year, wound up 5-7. However, he has made 6 starts in his career against the Dodgers, and his earned run average against LA, 1.3. Following the game, the Dodgers will be off tomorrow. They're heading for Arizona for the weekend. San Diego plays tomorrow. They'll begin a 4-game series, the Padres and the San Francisco Giants. So those are the pregame notes to set up for the game, and the game is coming up, but a whole lot more right after this.
On Monday, still feeling some of the after effects of being hit with that soft line drive back in spring training. He says he's going to be fine. Don Mattingly not expecting Kershaw's 3rd start of the season to be affected, but Brandon McCarthy making his Dodger debut tonight right here in Los Angeles in Game 3 against the Padres. Don Mattingly saying earlier today that when Brandon McCarthy is effective, it's because he's throwing strikes and he's inducing those ground balls. Brandon McCarthy obviously signing a 4-year, $48 million deal with the Dodgers in the offseason, and he was was an Iron Man last year between the Arizona Diamondbacks and the New York Yankees through 200 innings. It was a career high as far as innings pitched was concerned for McCarthy. The Dodgers hoping he can continue to go deep into ball games here in L.A. as well, guys.
A lovely evening, contrasted to last night where we had rain and about a 30-minute delay. And tonight, before a good-sized crowd, Brandon McCarthy goes to the mound to make his debut, and Bud Black brings a good ball club here that won last night after the Padres had lost 8 of the last 11 here at Dodger Stadium. Here the way the Padres stack up: Will Myers in center field, Derek Norris behind the plate, Matt Kemp in right. Justin Upton hits clean up in left. Will Middlebrooks at third base. Yonder Alonso celebrating his 28th birthday at first base. Jan Hervis Solarte at second base. Alexi Amarista at short. Andrew Kashner, the pitcher. Good play jump ball tonight. Brandon McCarthy is 6'7". Andrew Kashner is 6'6". And we'll see how McCarthy goes. Born in Glendale, lives in Rancho Cucamonga, and was originally drafted by the Chicago White Sox. As we mentioned, he has that odd record from last year: 3-10 with Arizona, 7-5 with the Yankees. So here's Will Myers, and takes a look at a pitch a little low, ball one. Interesting, in 175 games with Tampa Bay, Will Myers had just 2 go-ahead hits in the 9th inning or later. He had his first one with the Padres last night in the second game of the season, and a big hit it was. It came in the 9th inning, a base hit to drive in a run. For good measure, he also stole a base and scored. So So McCarthy with a 2-ball, no strike count. Brandon into the windup, delivers fastball and a high pop fly. Big league pop up at the other end. Jimmy Rollins waiting and makes a two-handed catch. And just like that, one away. Let's take a look at the Dodgers with the leather. Adrian Gonzalez, Howie Kendrick, Jimmy Rollins and Juan Uribe, Carl Crawford, Jock Peterson, and Yasiel Puig in right. The battery of McCarthy and Grandal. Here's Derek Norris, the catcher, coming up with 1 out first inning and no score. The Padres certainly a new look team, just like the Dodgers. In fact, opening day, the Padres featured 8 different players who were not with San Diego last year. 0-1. Norris with Matt Kemp on deck. No balls and 1 strike. Justin Upton hitting clean up behind Kemp. And McCarthy ready. Strike 1 pitch. Shoots a fastball low. 1 ball and 1 strike. Last night when the game started, 57 degrees. Tonight at game time, 64 degrees. Not a breeze, which is welcome. We had a little wind earlier. Next pitch in for a strike, catching the corner, and the count 1-2. Brandon McCarthy, among other things, as a talented pitcher, once struck out the side 9 pitches. You don't hear about that very often. Rarely is it done, but he did it. And the 1-2 pitch is swung on and fouled back. It was September 17th last year. He struck the side out on the minimum of 9. It was the 7th inning in a tough 3-2 victory. Became the 2nd pitcher to accomplish the feat. Only the 5th pitcher in the history of the Yankees to achieve that milestone. The 1-2 pitch is taken low. 2-2 the count. Derek Norris. Norris running exceptionally well for a fellow playing his position, and it was a key play, beating out a play at first base. So he not only catches well, he runs well, and you don't usually say that. Most catchers lose their speed very quickly in a crouch all the time. So 2 balls and 2 strikes. McCarthy back and gets a strike 3 called at the knees. Down goes Derek Norris. So 2 down in the first inning. Mike DeMuro is the plate umpire. Take another look. A lot of movement. It had sink by the time it passed the plate, but it was a strike in the zone. And the batter now is Matt Kemp. Kemp certainly has to be enjoying his comeback here. Against Kershaw, he had a single and a double and 3 RBIs. Last night he had a walk, a single, a stolen base, and scored 1. So Matt checking in, hitting .375. Dodgers load up the left side, and McCarthy delivers a big swing and a miss. 93-mile-an-hour fastball, and the count 0-1. McCarthy slows the pace down for a moment. Now the strike 1 pitch, and that's low and away. 1 ball and 1 strike. By the way, in talking about McCarthy striking out the side on 9 pitches, 77th pitcher to ever do that. There's only 1 pitcher to have ever done it 3 times. Pitch fouled at the plate. Who was the pitcher? The only one to have struck out the side on 9 pitches 3 times? You're right, Sandy Koufax. Meanwhile, Matt Kemp killing a few worms around home plate. Got a little bit on the foot, so he's going to walk that off. And the count remains 1-2. Matt letting out a welt. 1-2 to Matt Kemp. Justin Upton on deck. No score. We're just starting, so pull up a chair. Should be a good ball game. In fact, it's been a tough series. Dodgers coming from behind, breaking a 3-3 tie, and the Padres a similar victory last night. 1-2 pitch, cutter, and missed. That's the pitch he was not allowed to throw when he was with Arizona. And the Yankees said, go ahead and throw. Larry Rothschild, the Yankee pitching coach, said, do it. And it has helped him. So Upton waits, and the 2-2 pitch to Matt Kemp. Fastball line to center for a base hit. So Matt continues to play very well. That's his 4th hit in the 3 games.
Number 10, Justin Upton.
And that brings up Justin Upton. Matt Kemp just got under that thing and lined it to center. Nice at bat from Matt. And Justin Upton, a remarkable young player, checking in. Kemp and Gonzalez whispering a little bit to each other, standing at first base. Justin Upton last year for Atlanta had 29 home runs, 102 runs batted in. That was his high. He also hit a very solid 270, and Upton takes a strike, and the count 0-1. As far as Brandon McCarthy is concerned, Justin Upton is 0 for 3 against him in the past, and all 3 at bats he struck out. No score, 2 down, first inning. Matt Kemp at first. McCarthy ready, turns, fires to first, throw to first, and Matt back in on his hands and knees. Brandon McCarthy, 6'7", 205 pounds. He'll be 32 years old the 7th of July. Now the strike 1 pitch on the way. McCarthy works a cutter down and away, and the count 1 ball and 1 strike. So Upton checking with Glenn Hoffman in the third base coaching box. Jose Valentin coaching at first, and old friend Dave Roberts, the bench coach, with his skipper in the dugout, Bud Black. There's Dave if you're watching on TV. 1-1, Kemp bluffs, and there's a towering fly ball to left. Back goes Crawford to the track in front of the window. Can't see the ball, and it winds up going in the bullpen. So Crawford went back, threw his hands up in the air as if to say, where's the ball? And everybody in the pen can tell him. So Brandon McCarthy gives up a single to Kemp, a home run to Upton, and the Dodgers enter a hole here in the first inning, 2-0. So Upton was 0 for 3, all 3 strikeouts, and comes right back now for a first home run against McCarthy. And the batter now, Will Middlebrooks. Upton got a lot. It was a mile high, but Crawford lost the ball. He's standing in front of the window, and he was a good 25-30 feet away from the ball. High fastball to Middlebrooks is swung on and missed, and the count 0-1. Justin Upton, a remarkable young player, and he will continue to amaze. Now, whether they're all going to hit the ball that far in Petco Park remains to be seen. Breaking ball strike, and the count 0-2. There are those who think that Petco will neutralize Matt Kemp, Justin Upton's power, but again, we'll find out. They have a 4-game series starting tomorrow with the Giants. Strike 2, off-speed pitch. Middlebrooks way out in front of it, and down he goes. However, for the Padres, thanks to a 2-out single by Kemp and a big home run by Upton, Padres lead 2-0. Nothing on the single by Matt Kemp and the home run by Justin Upton. We'll take a look at the Dodger lineup now. Jimmy Rollins at short, Yasiel Puig in right, Adrian Gonzalez at first, and Howie Kendrick at second base. Yasmani Grandal, the catcher, Carl Crawford in left, Juan Uribe at third, Jock Peterson in center, and the pitcher, Brandon McCarthy. The pitcher for San Diego is Big Andrew Cashner, 6'6", out of Conroe, Texas, lives in Montgomery, Texas, throws very hard, has been clocked as high as 100 miles an hour. He was a first-round pick by the Cubs out of Texas Christian University. Likes to pitch on 5 days rest, not 4 days, and of course he's had plenty of rest, ready to go tonight. Jimmy Rollins will lead it off. Cashner looks in to get a sign. Norris wigwagging a couple out to him. And the first pitch to Rollins, high and away. Ball one. First pitch at 95. And looking at Cashner's work against the Dodgers, and we would start Jimmy Rollins is 0 for 6 against him. He lifts a high fly ball, but it's playable in right center. Myers and Kemp, and it's Will Myers making the catch. So Rollins a fly ball and one away.
Number 66.
We'll take a look at the Padres defensively. Alonso, Solarte, Amarista, and Middlebrooks on the infield. Upton, Myers, and Kemp in the outfield. Norris handling Cashner. Yasiel Puig coming up, checking in against Cashner. Puig just 2 for 14 against the big right-hander. Because when you give the Dodger batting averages against Cashner, you have to make a note. The man who has given Cashner the hardest time of all in the league is Buster Posey. The pitch to Puig is a hopper to the right side. Coming back is Solarte to throw him out. So quickly, 2 out. Earlier, before the game, awards were given out, and it was certainly well deserved. Adrian Gonzalez coming up received not only his 4th Gold Glove, but he also received his silver bat. So great fielder and tops in hitting in his position. Zach Greinke received his first Gold Glove as a top defensive pitcher. The great honors and well deserved. And here is Adrian off to a great start. He already has 6 hits this year. Last year, 27 home runs and 116 runs batted in. Padres load up the right side, and the pitch in for a strike, and the count 0-1. Adrian Gonzalez, 6 for 22. That would be a .273 batting average going up against Cashner. The plate umpire, Mike DeMuro. Mike DeMuro's dad was a distinguished umpire in the American League as Gonzalez swings and misses. Lou DeMuro. And the interesting note about father and son, Lou, an American League umpire, wore the same number, 16. Lou was behind the plate for Jim Palmer's no-hitter. And Mike had himself a great game, a perfect game. He was behind the plate for Roy Halladay. So the DeMuros, well respected, well liked, and deservedly so. And we have young Mike working behind the plate. For Cashner, typical. We mentioned in the opener, we remember seeing him hit 100 miles an hour. Well, he's hit 98 twice. No balls and 2 strikes. Cashner leading 2-0 in the first inning. And he's another bearded wonder. No balls and 2 strikes. Cashner ready. Strike 2 pitch. Gonzalez takes a little high. Ball 1. Adrian, not clean shaven, but just a light covering of facial hair. A lot of them look like they're in the witness protection program, so they can't be identified. It goes for most of them. All right, 1 ball and 2 strikes the count. Here comes Cashner, big guy, fastball hit in the air to right. Back goes Kemp. It's over his head. It is over the wall. And a home run for Adrian Gonzalez. That makes it 2-1 San Diego. For Adrian Gonzalez, by the way, that's a big deal. He has now homered in each of his first 3 games this year. Jimmy Wynn is the only other Dodger in LA era to homer in his first 3 games. Remember Jimmy, the so-called toy cannon? He hit 3 in 3 games starting 1974. So it is 2-1 San Diego. And the pitch now to Howie Kendrick. We're going to take another look. Fastball was 97 miles an hour, and Gonzalez was right on top of it. Cashner back with a fastball, jamming Kendrick, who fouls it outside of first base. Howie Kendrick 1 for 3 in the past against Cashner. Adrian Gonzalez, that's his 2nd home run in his career against Cashner. As he talks to A.J. Ellis. The next one, Pope just fouled down the right field line. Hal Gibson is the umpire at first base. Gibson became a full-time National League umpire opening day. And for Hal Gibson, they call him Trips because he is Hal Gibson III. We told you that he bought a ticket for opening day, even though he was the umpire, and gave it to his grandfather for a good reason as Kendrick strikes out. When Hal Gibson decided to be an umpire, he wanted to go to umpiring school, and his grandfather paid his way. Well, we'll take another look at Gonzalez' home run. And at the end of an inning, 2-1 San Diego. Three games. If you count last year, he has now hit safely in his last 9 games against the San Diego Padres. And of course, honored before the game with the Gold Glove and the silver bat. Yonder Alonso celebrating his 28th birthday, checking in, and the big first baseman fouls it off, and the count 0-1. Alonso facing Brandon McCarthy. Alonso 7 home runs, 27 RBIs, had some physical problems last year. 3 for 12 in the past against Brandon McCarthy, and a 91-mile-an-hour fastball is a strike, and the count 0-2. No balls and 2 strikes. The count to Alonso. Then Solarte and Amarista, and another foul ball trickling over towards the Padre dugout. Dodgers are off tomorrow. They'll be going over to Arizona and open up a 3-game series with the Diamondbacks. Remember last year, the Dodgers beat Arizona 15 times in 19 meetings. Strike 2 pitch fouled away. Remember, the Dodgers started off by beating Arizona twice in Australia. Then they beat them 7 out of 9 here, 6 of 9 over there. Add it all up, they wound up 15-4. Dodgers will have Brett Anderson. There he is, sitting alongside A.J. Ellis. He'll open up the series. Meanwhile, Alonso swings, doesn't get it, and down he goes. 1 away. That would be the 3rd strikeout for Brandon McCarthy. The McCarthy, with 2 out in the first inning, gave up the single to Matt Kemp and then the home run to Justin Upton. Yangervis Solarte playing second base for Jed Jerko. The first pitch to Yangervis, in for a strike, and the count 0-1. Solarte checking in, left-hand batter. He's a switch hitter. Takes an off-speed pitch, and that drops low. 1 ball and 1 strike the count. Brandon McCarthy, a few years ago, actually about 10 years ago, he added 20 pounds to that long frame to give him some extra strength. The 1-1 pitch, chopper to the right side. Kendrick is on it, makes the play for the second out. 2 down, second inning. Alexei Amarista coming up.
Number 5, Alexei Amarista.
Though Amarista, the shortstop, he knows the book on McCarthy. Mac with a 2-seam fastball, the cutter, the curveball, and the changeup. Brandon changed his grip on the changeup, and it's made it a better pitch. And the first pitch, breaking ball, in for a strike, and the count 0-1. Padres 2, Dodgers 1, top of the second inning. 2-run home run by Upton, solo home run by Adrian Gonzalez. Strike 1 pitch, and that's low and inside. Outfield playing Amarista to pull, though they're shaded way around. Amarista at 5'7" and a terrific player. 1-1 to count. Now the pitch to Amarista, swung on, hit the other way down the left field line, foul. So he'll have to come back. 1-2. Although Amarista is the shortstop, alternating with Clint Barmas, B.J. Preller, the GM of San Diego, has made so many moves that the reports out of San Diego, he is still looking for a shortstop. So he's already got 2, but he has certainly changed the deck. The fastball is high at 93, and the count 2-2. McCarthy, a big Oral Hershiser fan when he was growing up. Now the 2-2 pitch on the way, and it is swung on and missed. Down goes Amarista, and that's 4 strikeouts for Brandon McCarthy. And at the end of an inning and a half, San Diego 2 and the Dodgers 1. Monty Grandal, Carl Crawford, and Juan Uribe. The Dodger run, a home run by Adrian Gonzalez, and it was pretty interesting. Remember, Gonzalez had a count, no balls, 2 strikes. Then the count got to 1-2, and Gonzalez unloaded. The reason it's interesting, last year, if Cashner had the count of 1-2, the hitters were 4 for 75. They were hitting about a half a buck, 0.53. So for Cashner, with a 1-2 count, he had to be shocked that Gonzalez hit it out. A line drive by Gandil on the run, and a backhanded catch by Justin Upton. He can do it all out there in left field. So Upton takes an extra base hit away from Grandal. Got a good jump, fully extended at the left arm, had an ice cream cone. The ball just did stay in the webbing, rolled right to the tip, and he was able to hold on to it. Nice play. So 1 away, Carl Crawford coming up. Crawford off to a good start. He takes a look at a pitch in for a strike, and the count 0-1. If you go back to September of last year, Crawford has hit safely in 9 in a row. Adrian Gonzalez has hit safely in 9 straight against the Padres. There's a line drive, base hit into right center. Kemp up with it. Crawford holding with a long single. So a line drive and a fine catch by Upton, followed by a line drive single to right field. One thing, the number on the fastball isn't necessarily an out pitch. That was a 97-mile-an-hour fastball that was lined for the base hit. I think Gonzalez hit a 97 for his home run. So it's 2-1 Padres, and here's Juan Uribe. Uribe 0 for 6, hit .311 last year. Throw to first, jumping back on the bail is Crawford. Cashner versus Uribe. Uribe has given him a bad time. Juan is 6 for 14. That's a .429 batting average against Cashner. Andrew ready, comes to the plate. Fastball tapped and rolled into right field. Around second is Crawford. The throw by Matt Kemp is cut off, and the Dodgers are at first and third with 1 out. And Uribe, his first hit of the year. So Cashner is saved by Justin Upton, only to give up back-to-back singles by Crawford and Uribe. Uribe didn't get around on it, but it found the hole on the right side. Crawford, with great running speed, went all the way around to third. So for Uribe, a little relief. He's off the mark, comes up with his first hit. Now young Jock Peterson up there with a chance to get the Dodgers even. Padres 2 runs, 2 hits. Dodgers 1 run, 3 hits. First and third. Peterson backed up by McCarthy. Cashner delivers, fastball away at 97. He hasn't done what we have seen him do in the past. We've seen Cashner hit 100. Jock Peterson up there in the clutch. 1 for 7 so far this young year. Cashner at the belt. Andrew back, works it inside. So he was away. Now he's inside. And the count goes 2 balls and no strikes. (2-1) San Diego, bottom of the second inning. Cashner at the belt, checks the runners, comes back. Peterson has a look, and it's ball 3. 3-0. Bud Black running his hair and kind of a puzzled look on his face. Cashner not doing what Bud had expected him to do. Especially fortunate in this inning. The 3-0 pitch on the way to Jock Peterson. Cashner deals a strike. Outside corner at the knees. Good pitch. It's a big league pitch. 3-1. Of course, Jock had that magnificent year. AAA last year. 33 home runs, 30 stolen bases, but That was last year, and that was AAA. The next pitch is low, and he's aboard with a walk, and the Dodgers have the bases loaded with 1 out. Darren Balsley trying to ride to the rescue. A fine pitching coach going out to try and spot what's wrong with Cashner's delivery. So he gave up the home run on a 1-2 count to Adrian Gonzalez. Grandal had a line drive that looked like an extra base hit. Upton made a great running catch, and then Crawford lined a single to right. Uribe grounded a single to right. Peterson walks, and it's standing room only on the infield. Brandon McCarthy coming up. Brandon McCarthy has a total of 5 hits. But of course, remember, he spent a bulk of his career in the American League. He had 4 hits last year with the Arizona Diamondbacks. The infield in double play depth, although they pull up Alonso, he's on the grass. And McCarthy backs away on a strike. On deck, Jimmy Rollins. So you have Rollins, Uribe, Peterson at first, Rollins in the on-deck circle, and Cashner on the spot. Strike 1 pitch on the way. Cashner ready. Pitch in the dirt. Nice save by Norris. And a 1-ball, 1-strike count. Cashman talking about his improvement, and he has not yet been a big winner despite his ability to throw the ball hard. But the big change is mental approach. As he said, I'm not trying to throw 100 miles an hour anymore. Well, without any effort, he's throwing 98. Here's the 1-1 pitch to Brandon McCarthy. Fastball foul back, and the count 1-2. So McCarthy giving it his best shot. 2-1 Padres, second inning. McCarthy at 6'7" certainly gives you a nice strike zone. And the 1-2 pitch on the way, fastball low and inside at 99. So he's right there. After looking at Craig Kimbrell last night, throwing 98, 97, Jimmy Rollins taking note of Cashner. And Cashner has finally gotten it to 99. Wow. All right, 2-2 to McCarthy. Taken, and it's a little high and off the plate. And that was 100 miles an hour. So Dave Roberts, Bud Black thought it was strike 3. Let's a holler out to Mike DeMuro. So 3-2 with the bases loaded and 1 out. Big moment of truth for Cashner as well as for McCarthy. The crowd comes alive. 3-2. Cashner ready. Fastball fouled away, and that was 99. McCarthy ought to get a medal as a pitcher, able to foul off fastballs. So Cashner going back to work. Andrew Cashner, when he signed first round with the Cubs, he got over $1.5 million. He has that much talent. Anthony Rizzo, Zach Gates, they went to Chicago to bring him here. 3-2 with the bases loaded is ball 4, and the game is tied. So everybody moves up. Carl Crawford brings the run home.
Number 11, Jimmy
Juan Uribe moves over to third. Up to second goes Peterson. At first McCarthy, and Black is steaming at Mike DeMuro. So bases loaded for Jimmy Rollins. Rollins hitting left-handed. Cashner delivers, and it's swung on and missed. Jimmy Rollins has 4 grand slams. Hit one last year against Texas. 0-1 the count. Jimmy had that 3-run home day to win opening day. No balls, 1 strike. Cashner back with a fastball off the plate. So he's living in the high rent district, 98, 99, and 1 pitch at 100. But it's the old story. Don't tell me how hard you can throw. Tell me, can you throw strikes? And he's had back-to-back walks, Peterson and McCarthy, although certainly Bud Black does not agree. Uribe, Peterson, McCarthy out on the lines, 1 out, and the pitch in the dirt. Nice save by Norris. 2-1 to count. So Derek Norris saving a possible wild pitch. Cashner last year had elbow trouble. He also had shoulder trouble. A couple of years ago, he had a laceration of the hand while they were skinning a deer. So he's had his physical problems. Andrew ready. And the 2-1 pitch on the way. Swung on, ground ball. Alonso kicks it. No play at the plate, but he does get Rollins at first. Rollins thought he was safe. Uribe scores, and the Dodgers lead 3-2. Alonso was in such a hurry to charge the ball and make a play to the plate that he kicked it. He did get the out, but he lost a huge out and a run. So Alonso kicks it, picks it up, looks to the plate, throws to first. Now let's see. The Dodgers, I believe, are going to protest, and the umpires are going to take a look. It was a bang, bang play. Rollins' foot hit the bag as the ball disappeared in the glove of Andrew Cashner. So a really tough play for the young new umpire, the regular umpire. That's Hal Gibson. They told you the story about Hal. So for Alonso, he thinks he might have an out, but the jury is out. So we'll have to wait and see. The crowd, of course, thinks Rollins beat the throw. It was a bang-bang play, that's for sure. Every time they look at the replay, the ball is in the air and Rollins' foot is on the bag. So Rollins is safe. It'll be an error for Alonso, and the Dodgers will have the bases loaded if the umpires buy the evidence. They're not going to buy the videotape here at Dodger Stadium. They're checking an official review. Brian Gorman is the crew chief. Hal Gibson, the first umpire. Naturally, Alonso is hoping that they got him at first base. Mattingly and company would love the call to go against Bud Black. Anyway you cut it, Dodgers lead 3-2, but all eyes now on the umpires. What about Jimmy Rollins? They're still waiting, still listening. Now we'll find out. He is safe. So Yonder Alonso is charged with an error where he might have had a play at the plate. So the Dodgers not only get ahead 3-2, the bases are still loaded, and Yasiel Puig coming up. Yasiel Puig grounded out 0 for 1 and only 1 for 9. Last year he had 1 grand slam. It was against Atlanta, and it was against Craig Kimbrell, who was down in the bullpen in those days for the Braves. Yasiel ground ball to third. Middlebrooks to the bag, throws to the plate. It gets away from the catch of Norris, and the runners have to hold, except Puig is running to second, and the Dodgers now have 2 men at second. Puig going back towards first. Cashner commits him, misses the tag, throws to Alonso, and they got Puig. Yasiel Puig runs out of the inning because when the ball got away at the plate, he assumed that Jimmy Rollins would have gone on to third. But Rollins was holding at second, and Puig ran out. So the Dodgers wind up with all the excitement, scoring 3 times in the second inning. And at the end of 2, it's 4-2 Dodgers. Dodgers had some fun to lead 4-2. Puig was sure that Rollins would have gone to third. What was amazing was Andrew Cashner. Middlebrooks got an out. The throw gets away at the plate. Cashner came from the mound all the way to the box seats, picked up the ball, then ran all the way towards first base. Puig, fooled because Rollins was still at second, was eventually thrown out. Cashner going to Yonder Alonso. So a remarkable effort by Andrew Cashner. A big mistake by Yonder Alonso. Really not that much of a mistake by Puig, because if you were running down to first as he was, and you saw Cashner running to the backstop, you had to believe that Rollins was going to third. So the dust settles. The Dodgers score 3, and they lead 4-2. And here's hardworking Andrew Cashner. Cashner's not a bad hitter. Believe it or not, he's a pretty good bunter. He won a ball game against the Giants. He had a squeeze bunt single in the 9th inning. Andrew takes a couple in the count 0-2. Over the last 40 years, the top bunting pitchers, Orel Hershiser 19, Tommy Glavine 15, Cashner has 7. He takes off the plate, 1-2 the count. His bunt single that year, 2013, he had 4 bunt singles. Omar Dahl with Arizona, a former Dodger, had 5 one year. Cashner hits one foul off first and well back into the crowd. 1-2 the count to Andrew Cashner. So it's a wild game. Upton hits a 2-run home run in the first inning. Gonzalez comes back with a home run to make it 2-1 San Diego. And then the merry-go-round in the second. Dodgers score 3 and lead 4-2. Will Middlebrooks started the problem because when the ball was hit to him, Will for a split second was not quite sure what to do with it. Throw to the plate or go to the bag. He hurried to the bag, and then his throw got away at the plate. If Middlebrooks just fields the ground ball and had thought ahead of time, he could have had plenty of chance to throw to the plate and then perhaps a throw to first. But the indecision, should I throw, should I go to the bag, and that really hurried the play when there was no real necessity. 3-2 the count. Cashner a look at strike 3 as he was on his way to first base. 5 strikeouts for Brandon McCarthy, and we have 1 out here in the third. You know, no team is more Cy Young Award winners than the Dodgers. This season we're celebrating with a Cy Young Pin Collector Series presented by 76. Pick up the first pin featuring Don Newcomb Monday night 7:10. Visit Dodgers.com/promotion. So with 1 away, Will Myers fouls it away. Myers popped up, had a big hit last night. It would appear, and of course there's still no ultimate decision, but the question was when they got Craig Kimbrell, remember they traded away Cameron Maybin, and the question is will Myers, who had played I think maybe 6 games in center field, will he be able to play center field at Petco Park? Well, he has certainly done well in his experience here, and this is a pretty spacious ballpark at Dodger Stadium. So he's handled himself very well. 24 years old out of North Carolina. Will Myers, Rookie of the Year in the American League 2 years ago. Will takes off the plate, and the count 1-2. When Myers was in high school, he played just about every position except second base. Now the 1-2 pitch on the way. Myers swings, comes up empty, and down he goes. That's 6 strikeouts for Brandon McCarthy. And the batter will be Derek Norris, who struck out in the first inning.
Number 3, Derek Norris.
So Norris and Middlebrooks in the first inning, Alonso and Amarista in the second inning, Cashner and Myers in the third inning. Though McCarthy on a strikeout beat. And here's the catcher. The first pitch of the right-hand hitter, breaking ball, strike, and the count 0-1. McCarthy does not waste a lot of time. He doesn't wander off the rubber and works from the first base side of the rubber. Brandon back and misses inside under the hands. 1 ball and 1 strike to count. Brandon McCarthy, born on the 7th of July. A pretty good baseball date, pitched down and away. 2 Hall of Famers were born on the 7th of July. Billy Herman, great second baseman, wound up playing for the Dodgers after a career with the Cubs, and Billy became a coach for the Dodgers. And the wonderful Satchel Paige. 2-1 pitch on the way, cutter off the plate, and he threw that thing at 95. 3-1 the count to Norris, 2 out in the third. Dodgers in a scramble, lead 4-2, and we're in the top of the third inning. McCarthy ready, comes back 3-1, and a trifle high for ball 4. McCarthy is pretty much of a control pitcher. But you won't see him giving up a lot of walks. So here's Matt Kemp, who naturally with 1 swing can get the game even. McCarthy's allowed 2 runs, 2 hits, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. Matt Kemp singled to right center in the first inning. So Kemp waiting, McCarthy set, right-hander over the top, and the pitch low and away. Dodgers have loaded up the left side with a man on base. That hurt the Dodgers opening day with Kershaw with no second baseman. That's exactly where Kemp hit the ball. Just a routine ground ball, but it wound up in right field. The 1-0 pitch on the way to Matt. Fastball for a strike. 1-1 the count to Kemp. Brandon McCarthy's been pitching professionally since 2002. So he's been through the mill. Kemp waiting. Norris short lead at first. McCarthy right back with a cutter down and away. Kemp backs out. This is a pretty good pitch. McCarthy is throwing well. Brandon pulls at the bill of the cap, heaves a little sigh. Now looks in to get a sign. 2 balls, 1 strike. Kemp waiting. The next pitch swung on and missed. Good fastball down. That was 95 around the knees as opposed to the so-called high, hard one. Waiting on deck, Justin Upton, who homered in the first inning. So Norris takes his lead. Kemp waits with 2 out, and the 2-2 pitch on the way. Brandon delivers, ground ball to short. Rollins has to go to first base and does. So Kemp rolls out, no runs, no hits, and a man left. Adrian Gonzalez, who homered in the first inning with that sweet swing and sent the ball into the right field seats. He'll be leading off in the bottom of the third, with the Dodgers leading 4-2. Adrian Gonzalez continued his phenomenal hitting in the first 3 games when he took the home run pitch from Andrew Cashner, deposited into the right field stands, and a fan made a great catch standing on the steps, leaned over a bit without falling down. Fine one-hand catch. So he's ready. The first pitch to Adrian outside, ball 1. 4 runs, 3 hits for the Dodgers, 2 runs, 2 hits for San Diego. The shift is on. Adrian drives another one to right field. Back goes Kemp to the wall, hits the top of the wall and goes out for a home run. Matt Kemp leaped as high as he could. The ball hit the top of the fence, and it's rather unbelievable. Adrian Gonzalez has now hit 4 home runs in the first 3 games of the season. Remember, he passed Jimmy Wynn. He and Justin Turner have fun every time Gonzo hits one out. And the Dodger lead is 5-2. And the first pitch to Kendrick, missing for ball 1. So Adrian unconscious at the plate, as they say. The next pitch to Kendrick outside. Howie struck out 0 for 1. Of course, Gonzalez, the old pro, always puts on a good at bat, and he's really been red hot. Gonzalez in his career has had a multi-hit home run. Did it against Cincinnati. Oh, now he has done it against San Diego, his old ball club. The 1-1 pitch on the way. Cashner's low and away. Ball 2, 2-1. Yasiel Puig is still talking to Jimmy Rollins, trying to figure out why Rollins was still at second base while Cashner was running all the way to the backstop, and they are laughing about it because they're leading 5-2. Jimmy Rollins struck out earlier, but we take another look at Adrian Gonzalez. His ball just missed Kemp's glove, hit the top of the fence, and out she went. Boy, from Matt, so close from taking it away. Pitch fouled away by Kendrick. 2-2. A pretty noisy 3 innings. Started with Upton's 2-run home run. Meanwhile, Yasiel Puig is still talking. Two-two pitch on the way. Kendrick, a ground ball up the middle. That'll be a base hit to center. To Howie, turns and holds. Myers gets the ball back in, and Yasmani Grandal will be coming up.
Number 9, Yasmani Grandal.
Yasmani Grandal hit a line drive to left field, and a great running catch by Justin Upton took an extra base hit away from him. Grandal 0 for 1. 5 runs, 5 hits for the Dodgers. 2 runs, 2 hits for the Padres. Cashner being roughed up a bit. Throws to first. Kendrick diving back to the bag. So Gonzalez, 2 home runs in the game. The last time he had 2 was against Cincinnati. And if you go back through his entire career, he's had 2 home runs in a game 18 times. Ho hum, huh? With Justin Turner. Oh, and 1 to count. Kendrick at first. Cashner set at the belt. There goes Kendrick. The pitch is low and inside. Nars, good throw, and nails him at second base. No doubt about it. So a fine throw by Derek Nars. Covering on the paw is Alexei Amarista, and he's right there. Shortstop covering with a left-hand hitter. So Kendrick is erased. Grandal up there with a count, 1-1 strike. Cashner back over the top in the dirt. Ball 2. It'll be interesting. Norris, the catcher, walked in the 3rd inning against Brandon McCarthy. McCarthy has not walked more than 2 men in a game in quite some time. Here's the 2-1 pitch. That's off the plate. He has not walked more than 2 batters since April of last year. Has not walked more than 3 in his last 113 starts. Next one off the plate, and that's ball 4 to Grandal. So Cashner really struggling, not to mention the impact it has in the San Diego dugout. Of course, Bud Black was angry, thinking that Mike DeMura was squeezing the pitcher Cashner as far as the strike zone was concerned on those walks to Peterson and McCarthy. Darren Balsley on the phone, though there be activity in the Padre bullpen, and the first pitch to Crawford is low, ball 1. Despaigne gets up down in the pen. The right-hander begins to loosen. So Cashner struggling ever since Gonzalez hit a home run in the 1st inning. Crawford fouls it away. He certainly got a bad break on the indecision by Middlebrooks, and then a crushing break on the error by Yonder Alonso. 1-1 the count. Cashner comes back. Fastball swung on and missed at 96. We have 1 out. We're in the bottom of the 3rd. 5-2 Dodgers. They'll be heading for Arizona tomorrow. Padres go home tonight because they play the Giants tomorrow to begin a 4-game series, as Kendrick and Rollins have a little fun. Cashner not having any fun at all. Andrews set at the belt. The 1-2 pitch on the way, swung on, grounded foul, winds up in the Padre dugout. Crawford, a long look at Lorenzo Bundy coaching at 3rd. Crawford single to right, as we mentioned, with his base hit in the 2nd inning. He has a 10-game hitting streak. The ball for the right side is smothered by Solarte, who throws late to first. So that means Dave Roberts goes to the phone immediately and says, "What's Despaigne doing? Where is he?" Because coming up will be Juan Uribe. Little ground ball, nice smothering stop by Solarte. But remember, Crawford runs so well, and he's a left-handed batter, and he beats it out for an infield single. So the Dodgers 5 runs, 6 hits. Crawford with his speed at first, Grandal at 2nd. Actually, Cashner has not gotten anybody, in the sense everybody's gotten on base. Uribe doesn't get it. 0-1. Gonzalez homered. Kendrick singled, but was thrown out trying to steal. Grandal walked. Crawford an infield single. So for Cashner, a very, very tough inning. Next pitch swung on. Uribe pops it up. Right side goes back. It will be Solarte, and the infield fly rule was called. So 2 down, and Jock Peterson coming up. Peterson came up in the 2nd inning and drew a big walk, and then Brandon McCarthy came up, went 3-2, and McCarthy got a walk. 5 runs, 6 hits for the Dodgers, 2 runs, 2 hits for the Padres. Upton, Middlebrooks, and Alonso will be due up in the 4th inning. So Jock checking in. Cashner at the belt, checks the runners. Fast one that sinks low and away. 1 ball and no strikes. So that certainly was an off-speed pitch at 86. He also throws a knuckleball. 1-0 the count. Peterson, young left-hand hitting center fielder, swings right through the next one, and the count 1-1. Mark McGwire, who's done a lot of work, it paid off certainly in spring training with Jock, but that was spring training. Here's the 1-1 pitch on the way, and that's away, and again an off-speed pitch. 2 balls and 1 strike. With Cashner, you not only worry about a fastball that gets up around 100. He has a 2-seam sinker. He has a slider, a knuckleball, and a changeup. Now the 2-1 pitch, Peterson fouls it back, and they count 2-2. When Cashner is healthy, and he has not been healthy for quite a while, he can be a formidable pitcher, but he's never been a big winner. A couple of years ago, Cashner was 10-9. Then last year, 5-7. So Andrew has not lived up to what they expect from him. Not yet. 2-2 with 2 on and 2 out. Time at the plate. Norris wants to go out and talk to Cashner. So the Beards get together. In the inning, Gonzalez homered, so he has homered twice in the game. He's homered in each of the first 3 games, and he now has 4 home runs. He also will go home tonight with a Gold Glove, his 4th, and he'll also get a silver bat. So it's been a big night so far, and for Adrian, it's only the 3rd inning. Deuces wild, and the 2-2 pitch on the way. Peterson checks up, and they're going to call strike 3. Yep. So Peterson strikes out. The Dodgers settle for 1. And of course, it's worth looking at. Adrian Gonzalez, his 2nd home run, barely over the glove of Matt Kemp. And the Dodgers take a 5-2 lead. brought to you by the 2015 Jeep Cherokee. With an EPA estimated 31 highway MPG, it's the perfect choice. Visit Jeep.com today. Dodgers take a 5-2 lead into the fourth inning. A major reason, that sweet swing of Adrian Gonzalez. Adrian, by the way, joins Jimmy Wynn and Carl Furillo as the three Dodgers with home runs in each of the first three games. Furillo, a magnificent right fielder in the days of Ebbets Field. Interestingly enough, opening day, Carl Furillo's grandson was here with his fiancee. It was wonderful to talk about his grandfather. Justin Upton homered in the first inning to give the Padres a brief 2-0 lead. One other note about Matt Kemp and Adrian Gonzalez. Here's the strike one pitch, 1-1. Going back to last year, Adrian has now homered in 5 straight games. The last Dodger to do that back in 2010, Matt Kemp. Good breaking ball at cutter. At the last second, it just jumps. 1-2. Upton tired of waiting and backs out. Upton with his home run. He had been 0 for 3 against McCarthy, all 3 strikeouts. Then he hit the home run. 2-2. Upton very much of a solid player, but the Dodger pitchers have done a good job against him at Dodger Stadium over the years. His home run tonight is the 9th here in 203 at-bats, and he'll take a walk back to the dugout. He's hitting .236 in his career at Dodger Stadium. So that's 7 strikeouts for Brandon McCarthy. Will Middlebrooks struck out in the first inning, 0 for 1. One and 0. When the Dodgers go over to Arizona Friday night, it'll be Brett Anderson against Chase Anderson. Then Clayton Kershaw is due to pitch on Saturday, and then Zach Greinke on Sunday. Kershaw has a date with the dentist. Remember that broken bat line drive that caught Clayton on the side of the jaw. It chipped a tooth, but I understand he's going to have a root canal. That's always a lot of fun. So you have Scott Van Slyke with the beard, and then Greinke and Kershaw in conversation. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Will Middlebrooks. McCarthy slowing the pace down for just a moment. He's a quick worker. Fastball at 95. Middlebrooks from Greenville, Texas. 6'4", 200-pounder. Had a tough time last year. Will hit just 191. And one of his big problems, right-hand pitching, he hit just 195. Middlebrooks was a wonderful punter in football and also a quarterback. So good. A lot of people say at Texas A&M, had he gone there to play football, he'd be a pro punter. Well, he's doing pretty well at third base. Meanwhile, talking about pretty well, McCarthy has struck out 8. Ocho for San Diego. Here's Yonder Alonso, 28 years old today. Struck out in the second inning. Made a critical error on a ball hit by Rollins in the second inning. Cashner was undermined in that inning. The hesitation by Middlebrooks. Do I throw to the plate or do I go to third? Then he went to third and then bounced the throw to the plate. And then Yonder Alonso, so eager to come up with the ground ball and go to the plate, he had the ball get away. So Cashner really didn't get any help at all, and the Dodgers scored 3 times at his expense. So it's 5-2 Dodgers. Also, Middlebrooks, of course, 0 for 2, striking out twice, so it's a tough night for Will. Boy, that's the thing about baseball. Cashner has to feel down. Despaigne was throwing back of him. He's throwing hard, but he's down by 3. Ground ball up the middle. So Alonso, a birthday single to center.
Number 26.
That is the 3rd hit against Brandon McCarthy. And the batter now, Yangervis Solarte. Solarte, switch hitter, 0 for 1. Check swing. They're going to look at third. Yes, swing, says Mark Grissom. The Carlson rings him up. 0-1 the count to Solarte. Yangervis is from Venezuela. Valencia. Spent over 9 years battling in the minor leagues before he got here. His uncle is former big leaguer Roger Cedeno. And he hits it in the air to right. Puig going back, reaches up, can't get it, goes to the wall. On his way to third is Alonso. They'll stop him on the long double by Yangervis Solarte. Interesting too, Solarte for a brief time was a teammate of Brandon McCarthy with the Yankees. And now a 2-out double will bring up Amarista. Good sink on that pitch, but Solarte hits it over the outstretched glove of Yasiel Puig for a long double. Second and third, 2 out. Amarista struck out in the second inning. Hitting 8th in the lineup, Andrew Cashner on deck. Remember, McCarthy has walked 1. Walked 2 since April of last year. And ball 1. He is probably the toughest hitter in that respect right now. Amarista 5'7". Second and third, Alonso and Solarte are out there. 2 out. Dodgers lead 5-2. Ground ball to the right side. Nice stop on the grass by Kendrick to get him. No runs, 2 hits. Runners left at second and third. At the end of 3.5 innings, 5-2 Dodgers. Fireworks come out April 17th. Take your place on the field. See the fireworks featuring the sounds of Coachella 2015. Dodgers will go over to Arizona. They will come back, and Monday the 13th, they'll open up a 3-game series with Seattle. And then the weekend with the Colorado Rockies. Then the Dodgers go out again to San Francisco and San Diego. Brandon McCarthy, ball 1. Cashner at 6'6", McCarthy at 6'7". Fastball 2-0. McCarthy, remember, went 3-2 and walked in that wild second inning. And a strike, 2-1. Boy, Cashner is sort of pitching like he wants to catch a train. 2-2. He is due to lead off in the 5th inning. And he rings up McCarthy. So Cashner has struck out. McCarthy now strikes out. And the batter will be Jimmy Rollins. Three strikeouts for Cashner. 8 strikeouts for McCarthy. Rollins has flied to center and then reached first base on that play at first base. Jimmy hitting .300. 1 ball and 1 strike. That's off the plate. 2 balls, 1 strike. Adrian Gonzalez making his mental notes. Boy, have they paid off. 2 home runs tonight, each with the bases empty. Little off-speed pitch tapped to first for the easy out. Second out. And Yasiel Puig coming up.
Number 66, Yasiel Puig.
Puig is 0 for 2. Picked up an RBI on that ground ball in the second inning. Whether in English or Spanish, he had to be saying to Jimmy Rollins, where in the world were you, with Cashner running all the way to the backstop to get the overthrow. I don't know whether Rollins didn't see it to stay at second. And there's Puig, usual big turn at first, ready to go to second. Whoops. 1 ball, 1 strike. Tell you, it's been a long time to see a pitcher make a pitch and wind up running all the way to the backstop to pick up the ball. Derek Norris, with the gear on, was down on his knees. Obviously, he couldn't move. That was a remarkable effort by Cashner. Two and 1 to Yasiel, hitting .111. 3-1. His first year, he would have swung at that last pitch. Showing a little more discipline. Fastball up. And that's going to go foul down the line, back into the stands. 3-2 for Cashner. Now he has made 73 pitches. McCarthy has made 74. We're in the bottom of the 4th inning. Dodgers lead 5-2. Dodgers scored a run in the first, 3 in the second, 1 in the third. Check swing foul. Still 3-2. On deck, the man, Adrian Gonzalez. High fly ball down the right field line, starting to go foul and back into the stands. Alonso, Kemp, Solarte all down there. No play. Matt has to be thinking about the one that got away. The second home run by Adrian Gonzalez just got over his glove, hit the top of the fence, kicked up into the stand. 3-2. And Adrian waits with 2 out and the bases empty. Fastball whacked into center, and that thing takes off. Myers to the wall and makes the catch. Wonderful play by Will Myers. So if they were wondering if he can play center field or not, certainly the answer at Dodger Stadium is a loud yes, making a fine backhanded stab. And at the end of 4, it's 5-2 Dodgers. Howie Kendricks returned to Anaheim for the first time as part of the Dodgers. Plus, we get an inside look as former Dodger Josh Beckett adjusts to retired life. So don't miss Backstage Dodgers. That's tomorrow at 7 on Sportsnet LA. Beautiful evening. Light breeze now stirring the flags in center. And McCarthy's first pitch to Andrew Cashner. Strike 1. Cashner struck out in the 3rd. McCarthy has struck out 8 in 4 innings. Ground ball to short. Rollins waits for it. He's got the arm to do that. And 1 away. By the way, with McCarthy striking out a lot, his career high 12 strikeouts. That would be early April last year. He was pitching for Arizona. 12 strikeouts against the Phillies, and he lost 2-0. Give you a little indication of why he was only 3-10 with Arizona. Will Myers coming up. Myers did a very nice job, made it look so easy on that long drive by Puig. He handled that ball very well. 5-2 Dodgers, 1 out in the 5th. And a hopper right at Kendrick on the other side of the bag. Well, position is everything. And Myers a quick second out. Derek Norris, the catcher, has struck out and walked.
Norris.
Two out, fifth inning. Dodgers 5, Padres 2. Off speed. Nice changeup for a strike. McCarthy very impressive after the first inning with 2 out when he gave up the single to Kemp and the home run to Upton. Fastball. So he went from an 80-mile-an-hour change to a 92 fastball, and he's out in front 0-2. Off speed, big bouncer. Fair ball. Look at Uribe getting it over there, but late. Wonderful play by Uribe. I mean, there was no way he could get anything on the throw. And Norris, very thankful, says, thank you, I got a base hit. That was an impossible play. He was still accurate in the bouncer, but Norris, who runs very well, not just for a catcher, he runs well, and legs it out. So a base hit for Norris keeps the inning alive, and here's Matt Kemp. That is the 5th hit for San Diego. Matt Kemp single to center, grounded to short. Dodgers again load up the left. So the Dodgers load against Kemp, and the Padres load against Gonzalez. And ball one. 81 pitches made by Brandon McCarthy. First team out, so up around 90 pitches, and they'll really have to watch him. Fastball. 1-1. Matt, for the moment, hitting .400. Single to center, rode home on Upton's home run, grounded to short. One ball and one strike. Two and one. High fastball. 2-2. It's a big at bat for Kemp. If Upton comes up with 2 on, he would represent the tying run. Two balls, 2 strikes, 2 out. Dodgers lead 5-2. We're in the 5th inning. Fastball in on the hands. Matt fouls it away. San Diego begins a 4-game series with the champion Giants starting tomorrow. Dodgers will fly tomorrow over to Arizona for the weekend against the Diamondbacks. 2-2 to Kemp. Giants are banged up. Jake Peavy with a bad back. Matt Cain with a sore elbow. Brandon Belt, a groin injury. Hunter Pence out with a broken arm. 3-2. Norris goes. Kemp ground ball in the hole, smothered by Kendrick. It'll be a base hit. Hard to believe. You load up the left side, and Kemp finds the hole between Kendrick and Rollins. The ground ball base hit right by the two of them, and that brings up Upton representing the tying run. For Matt Kemp, 2 more hits tonight. He's 2 for 3. Upton a 2-run home run and struck out. He is 1 for 5 against McCarthy. He has the home run. The other 4 at bats he struck out. So he's really a feast or famine hitter. And look out here. Lifted to right. Puig was playing right center. The ball is slicing away. No chance. Just about impossible for Puig to be over in right center on a slicing foul. Upton's home run was going to wind up in the bullpen, but watching Carl Crawford, suddenly, where is it? And he is way off as the ball lands well back in the pen. Justin also distinguished himself, making a fine running catch in left field, and the ball hit by Grandal. So McCarthy trying to pick up a victory in April. That is not his favorite month. In Brandon's career, he's 6-18 in April. So now he's looking at a challenge with a 3-run lead. 0-1 to Justin Upton. 1 ball and 1 strike. Big moment in the game for McCarthy. Time. That was a cutter. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Last year, the Padre outfield hit a league low 29 home runs. The Dodgers hit 61. The Rockies had 79. So with Upton and Kemp, they figured to do better than that this year. Got him. So 5 times Upton has struck out against McCarthy, once a home run, and at the end of 4.5, 5-2 Dodgers. Gonzalez hit a home run against James Shields. Last night, he came up in the 8th inning and home run against Joaquin Benoit. And tonight, he's doubled up. He hit a home run against Cashner in the 1st inning. And for good measure, he hit a home run against Cashner in the 3rd inning, just avoiding the glove of a leaping Matt Kemp. He is on a tear, and the Dodgers enjoying a 5-2 lead because of it. Gonzalez has hit safely going back to last year. 9 straight games against San Diego. They just can't get him out. Down and away. 1 ball and no strikes. Gonzalez, Kendrick, and Grandal. And would you believe it? A towering smash to right field. He's hit 3 of them. The Dodgers lead 6-2. Maybe we should just say Gonzalez leads 6-2. Jose Valentin says, wow. And that's how the Dodgers feel. Kendrick a strike, but the crowd wants Gonzalez to take a bow. He's busy getting slapped around in the Dodger dugout. Now Puig is going to push him up the steps. And there he is, Adrian Gonzalez. One of the finest moments in his career as Kendrick follows with a base hit. So Gonzalez absolutely unconscious with that bat. 9 straight against San Diego. 3 home runs in today's game. 5 home runs in the first 3. And did he ever kill that one? A mile high. It went out as soon as it left home plate. Much to the delight of this large crowd. So the Dodgers scored a run in the first, 3 in the second, 1 in the third. They went out in order in the 4th. Will Myers made a fine catch on a ball hit by Puig. And now another home run by Adrian. Nick Vincent gets up down in the San Diego bullpen. So Cashner, after elbow and shoulder problems last year, has a lot of problems here with Adrian Gonzalez. Right. 0-1. I had a picture in my mind from a long time ago, watching Adrian go around on his 3rd straight home run. Remember Gil Hodges against the Boston Braves. Maybe it was Milwaukee Braves by then. Gil hitting 4 home runs. The last one against left-handed Johnny Antonelli in Ebbets Field. And Hodges would blow a kiss to his wife every time he hit a home run. Cashner roughed up. Dodgers lead 6-2 on 8 hits. Adrian Gonzalez in his quiet way leading the way. And what a night to not only get a Gold Glove, but he also got the silver bat to lead all first basemen in hitting. And there's Yasiel Puig. Two balls, 2 strikes. They're keeping an eye on Howie, of course, coming over from the American League, so he's having to study the pitchers and their moves. Off speed for a strike. Though a high off speed pitch dropped in. In case you just joined us, we have a quick bit of time to show you Adrian Gonzalez as he drives the home run, his third of the night, his fifth of the young year. Of course, 1 year with the Padres, Adrian Gonzalez hit 40 home runs. That's the most. So now he hit him with, now trying to hit him against. That's a strike to Carl Crawford. Adrian Gonzalez will be 33 in May. Interesting thing, I'm not sure if it's still there or not. If we have a chance, we'll try and find an Adrian Gonzalez bat. Adrian is a born-again Christian. On his bats, he had PS 27:1. That meant verse 1 of Psalm 27. An interesting psalm indeed. It reads, "The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid?" Rather appropriate, especially tonight. But in his life, every day and night. 1-1. Ball 2. Adrian is not only a fine ball player, you know, he and his wife created the Adrian and Betsy Gonzalez Foundation. It's focused on empowering underprivileged youth in areas of athletics, education, and health. Runner goes, Crawford fouls it off, and the count stays 2-2. Major League Baseball last year announced a program called Target Presents People All-Star Teachers. Campaign celebrating remarkable current and retired teachers who make an impact on the lives of their students and communities. Foul ball. So Adrian is quite a man, not just hitting a home run, not just dazzling at first base. He is certainly to be commended. Remarkable. 2-2. So Kendrick watching Cashner's move without being picked off. 6-2 Dodgers, bottom of the fifth inning. 1 out, 2 balls, 2 strikes. Two and 2. And ball 3. That was quite a backhanded stop. And down to second base goes Kendrick. Derek Norris somehow was able to block that ball, pushed it out in front, otherwise heading for the backstop. No chance to make a play on Kendrick. Wild pitch moves him along. Nick Vincent has been throwing in the San Diego bullpen. 3-2 the count to Carl Crawford. Oh, down he goes. 95-mile-an-hour fastball.
Number 5.
2 out strikeouts by Grandal and Crawford. Here's Juan Uribe. 5 strikeouts for Andrew Cashner, but it's McCarthy with the headlines. He has 9. And Nick Vincent patiently getting ready. The pitcher spot is due up 5th in the 6th inning for San Diego. Single to right, popped up. And a fly ball down the left field line. Hooking foul out of play. Uribe badly fooled on a changeup. He was way out in front of it. Interesting, too, with Yan Uribe waiting at the plate. Who was the last Dodger to hit 3 home runs in a game? It was September the 9th, 2013. And you're right if you said Juan Uribe. It was against Arizona. 0-1. 0-2. Sean Green is the one Los Angeles Dodger to hit 4 home runs in a game. He did it in Milwaukee. And we mentioned earlier Gil Hodges hit 4 home runs for the Brooklyn Dodgers in Ebbets Field. 0-2. 1-2. We have 2 down in the 5th inning. When the Padres come up, Middlebrooks, Alonso, and Solarte in that order. Padres were relieved with a victory last night because they had lost 8 of the last 11 that they played here at Dodger Stadium. Last year, the Dodgers beat them 7 out of 10 here. But when you go to Petco Park, they cut you down to size in that ballpark. Dodgers managed to win 5 of 9 against Bud Black and Glenn Hoffman. Uribe, foul ball behind the plate, back into the stands. Still 1-2. 6 runs and 8 hits for the Dodgers. 3 home runs by Adrian Gonzalez. 5 home runs in the first 3 games. He is without a doubt the story. 1-2. Fooled him on another good off-speed pitch. So Uribe strikes out. Cashner actually strikes out the side. One last look at another Adrian home run. And at the end of 5, it's 6-2 Dodgers. Great thrills I've ever experienced in this game. The privilege and the honor of describing Henry Aaron's home run that broke the record of Babe Ruth in Atlanta against Al Downing. Bill Buckner climbed the fence in left field but couldn't snare it, and Henry had done it. Meanwhile, Brandon McCarthy going back to work. No balls and 1 strike to Will Middlebrooks. In there, 0-2. The thing that made it so memorable for me, Henry hit the home run. I did what I do so well. I shut up. And I went to the back of the booth and let the crowd noise fill the evening. Fly ball to right and deep. Puig going back. It's over his head. It's heading for the wall, and it's in the stand. So Will Middlebrooks, who had struck out twice, homers to right field. Pretty good shot for a right-hand batter, and that makes it 6-3 in favor of the Dodgers. As McCarthy now watches his pitch count get up to 94. And remember, first time out in the spring, 94 is a lot of pitching. And I remember watching Henry run around. A couple of kids ran out on the field and ran around the bases with him. High fly ball into deep left center. Peterson a long way to go. Diving, can't make it. Crawford picks it up. Into second base goes Alonso. And we will see now just how long McCarthy's going to go after 95 pitches. Home run, double, and the batter Solarte. And finally, when things calmed down, I remember I had the thought, and I actually said it, what a great moment. Not just for Henry and his family or the Braves or Atlanta or Georgia. What a great moment for the United States. A black man getting a standing ovation with much love in the Deep South for breaking the record of a white icon. Never forgot that moment. Magnificent. And by the way, Henry, one of the nicest guys you'd ever want to meet. All right, here's Solarte. Off speed for a strike. There's Paco Rodriguez in the bullpen. Paco came in last night, made 2 pitches, gave up a base hit, and he had to come out. Yangervis Solarte. A drive down the right field line. That's in there. Puig trying to run it down at the gate. Scoring easily is Alonso. Into second base goes Solarte with a double, and McCarthy now might very well have gone for too many pitches. He gives up a home run, back-to-back doubles. 6-4 in favor of the Dodgers. Amariste, switch hitter. And of course they'll turn him around if they bring in Paco Rodriguez. So Middlebrooks homers, Alonso and Solarte double. We'll have to make sure that Mattingly goes to the pen. McCarthy waiting for him, and now there's the wave. So we'll be right back. out might have been just a little too much for him, but he was pitching so well, struck out 9 in 5 innings. But just as soon as a major league pitcher starts to lose that little edge, the big league hitters will be all over him. So Middlebrooks, a right-hand batter, homered to right. Alonso doubles, Solarte doubles, and now we have another scene from last night. Last night, Paco Rodriguez came in the 7th inning to pitch to Amarista. Bud Black sent up Clint Barmes, and Barmes singled to right field. Well, same thing tonight. Here comes Paco, not to get Amarista, but to get Clint Barmes. Barmes began the year at shortstop. He was 1 for 3 before giving way to Amarista. So he is 2 for 4 in the young year. So the Padres trying to get off the floor. It's 6-4 in favor of the Dodgers. But a home run and back-to-back doubles. 2 runs have come in. Nobody out. And a strike, 0-1. On deck, Jed Jerko, who is off to a very slow start. So they sat Jerko down. He's 1 for 7. Very good and a fine hitting second baseman. 0-1. One and 1 to Clint Barmes. Barmes spent a long time in Colorado. In fact, you're inclined to think of him as somebody who's still there. He was made such an imprint when he was playing for Clint Hurdle. Barmes is from Vincennes, Indiana. Did not do very well against relief pitchers last year. He hit only .205 against relievers. 1-1, but he's 1 for 1 against Paco. Breaking ball, 1-2. Clint Barmes did very well last year against pitchers who did not throw hard. He hit .393 against pitchers in that category. 1-2. Breaking ball down at his feet, and down he goes. So Paco gets a little bit of revenge. That's their first out. Now Jerko will come up. He will bat for Cashner. 10 Padres have struck out so far tonight.
Padres number 9, Jed Jerko.
Jerko out of West Virginia had 20 home runs his rookie year. Last year he had bad feet, plantar fasciitis. Wound up hitting only 10. A very good hitter, and the Dodgers are not going to let Paco pitch to him. There'll be a double switch. Justin Turner will take over at third base for Juan Uribe. And the Dodgers will go to the bullpen, and Pedro Baez coming in for Paco, and we'll be right back. Is brought to you by Jack in the Box. Jack's hottest sandwich is back. Head to Jack in the Box for Jack's Blazing Chicken Sandwich. And by Nissan. Choose Nissan today for great offers on our most exciting lineup ever. Choose Nissan.com. We're in the sixth inning. The Dodgers trying to hold on to what is now a 6-4 lead. And for the Dodgers, and it looked that way in spring training, they're going to burn up a lot of pitches. They used 4 pitchers opening day, 7 pitchers last night. That's 11. And Baez becomes the 14th pitcher they have used in 3 games. 14. Baez last night came in, got 2/3 of an inning under his belt, did give up a base hit. Justin Turner takes over at third base. Turner will bat 9th if you're keeping score, and Baez will go in your rebase spot. Meanwhile, Solarte standing at second base. So it's a scramble. Brandon McCarthy, a strong 5 innings, tried to push it to 6, made 97 pitches, and could not get out of it. Brandon struck out 9, gave up 2 in the first inning, and then finally weakened in the 6th. But it was a wonderful performance, especially first time out. So here is Jerko going up against Pedro Baez. Baez, the hard throwing kid from Bani in the Dominican Republic. He starts at 97. Boy, they come in and they really shoot him up to home plate. Baez is 6'2", a 200-pounder, 27 years old. 0-1. Drops that in. 0-2. Of course, as we saw with Cashner, you can throw BBs, but if that ball is not moving, big league hitters hit you no matter how impressive it looks on the speed gun. Jerko will be 27 in September. His big rookie year, he had 23 home runs. Half swing, it's going to be strike 3. So Jerko off the bench. Barmes strikes out against Paco. Baez comes in to strike out Jerko. 11 Padres have struck out so far in 5 2/3 innings. And the batter is Will Myers, who popped to short, struck out, and grounded to short. Distinguished himself tonight, making a fine running catch on a ball really hit by Yasiel Puig. As a hopper right at Howie Kendrick. It was well hit and a big out. So after a home run and back-to-back doubles, Messrs. Paco Rodriguez and then Pedro Baez end the inning, and McCarthy can rest back at the end of 5 1/2. Dodgers lead 6-4. Bottom of the 6th inning, 6-4 in favor of the Dodgers. A clinic put on again tonight. Adrian Gonzalez leading the way with 3 home runs at the expense of Andrew Cashner, who now gives way to Nick Vincent. Nick Vincent, certainly a local boy for the Padres. He was born in Poway and lives in Ramona. Went to school at Long Beach State. Listed about 6 feet 175. Padres drafted him in 2008, and he came up in 2012. Jock Peterson, followed by Justin Turner, and then Jimmy Rollins. Steve Barmes takes over at shortstop for Alexei Amarista, and we're ready to go. Vincent was a big Padres fan growing up, so he's ideally happy to be pitching for them. Hard worker, not only in baseball. He used to get up at 4 a.m. and work on Interstate 8, working on the Sunrise Power plant. There's a drive to right field, down into the corner. Chasing it is Kemp. Into second base goes Peterson, and he will hold on with a double to right. So Jock Peterson 1 for 2, a walk, a double, and a strikeout. Vincent is welcomed, and the Dodger batter now will be Justin Turner. A shot pulled into the corner. Kemp had to go down to get it. Peterson a leadoff double. 6 runs, 9 hits for the Dodgers. 4 runs, 9 hits for the Padres. Young Jock a leadoff double, and the Dodgers now trying to get him home. Justin Turner finishing up at third base for Juan Uribe. For the Redhead, this will be his first at bat tonight. Vincent went to Long Beach State. Turner's from Long Beach. Strike. However, Justin went to Cal State Fullerton. One reason, he was a bat boy as a kid growing up for the Cal State Fullerton club. 0-1. 0-2. Turner last year, a tremendous season. Hit .340, 7 home runs, 43 RBIs. He hit something like .396 with runners in scoring position. Left-hander Frank Garces, we've seen him once in the series. He's up. 0-2 the count. Fastball sliced foul down the line, will go untouched. No balls and 2 strikes to Justin Turner. Turner, 30 years old. He'd be 31 the end of November. In the College World Series with Cal State Fullerton, he was hit in the face while squaring to bunt on a pitch against Stanford. He was hit in the face and broke his ankle on the play. So he missed the national trials. He was an All-American, first team All-American for Cal State Fullerton. 0-2. 1-2 to Justin Turner. Originally signed by the Reds, came up with the Baltimore Orioles, then with the Mets. With the Mets from 2010 through 2013. In the minor leagues with New York, and then came to the Dodgers and had a big year. Fouled away. Turner last year was the top National League hitter with 2 strikes in the count. The league average when you have 2 strikes on a hitter, just 177. What did he do with 2 strikes? He hit .294. One ball and 2 strikes. Another foul ball. The #1 hitter with 2 strikes in the count last year, Victor Martinez of Detroit. He hit .337, and then Justin #2 at .299. One ball and 2 strikes to Justin Turner, finishing up at third base for Juan Uribe. Nick Vincent picking up for Andrew Cashner, and the Dodgers lead 6-4. If you haven't been with us, Adrian Gonzalez putting on a show. 3 for 3, all 3 home runs. Another foul ball. You know, it's been 52 years since a player had 3 hits in each of his team's first 3 games. Adrian Gonzalez now 9 hits, 3 hits in each. The last fella to do it, you go back to 1963, it was Orlando Cepeda of the Giants. Of course, Adrian has a shot at 4 home runs. In case you wonder, 2 years ago, Josh Hamilton for Texas hit 4 home runs against Baltimore. Ground ball into left field. Peterson to third. They will stop him there as Upton fires back to the plate. So Turner with 2 strikes does what he did all last year. Manages to get a base hit. So Vincent in trouble. Dodgers were not about to run on Upton. He has a good arm. Because Upton played right field when he was in Arizona, played right field for Atlanta, plays left field now for San Diego. So first and third, nobody out. Jimmy Rollins coming up. Dodgers led 6-2. It's now 6-4, and they have a chance to open it up again with Rollins followed by Puig and nobody out. Jimmy 0 for 3, hitting in the 270s. Fastball for a strike. 0-1. Fine crowd on hand tonight. Boy, they've gotten a thrill watching Adrian. That is off the plate. 1 ball and 1 strike. Adrian knows full well, as everybody else does. Nick Vincent, fastball, but his #1 pitch is a cutter. He studied pictures of Mariano Rivera. 1-2 the count. He started throwing the cutter in Double-A, and all of a sudden it became his pitch. So Turner at first, Peterson at third, nobody out. 6-4 Dodgers, 6th inning. Foul tip, down he goes. So Rollins going 0 for 4. And the batter will be Yasiel Puig with 1 out. Puig grounded out twice. Really hit a ball hard to left center in the 4th. Will Myers made a wonderful running catch, backhanding the ball on the dead run in left center. So Will has handled everything hit his way out there. So Puig trying to pick up Peterson at least. Down the line from third, Turner away from first. And ball 1. Yasiel 1 for 10, and of course the man is on deck, Adrian Gonzalez. a shot at hitting 4. What a remarkable moment in the life of any major league player. A big bouncer to first. Alonso to the plate. They have Peterson hung up. It'll be run by Middlebrooks. Middlebrooks will tag him out. He left the baseline. So the Dodgers wind up first and third with 2 out. 3-2-5. That would erase Peterson. Turner, however, went all the way to third, and on the fielder's choice, Puig at first, and here comes Adrian. We mentioned as Bud Black goes to the mound, he might be going for Frank Garces to bring in a left-hander. He's trying to figure out what to do about Gonzalez. Homered in the first, homered in the third, homered in the fifth. Black will take the ball from Vincent. He will bring in the left-hander, and we will be back. Was in Baltimore in May of 2012. Interestingly, as you watch Gonzalez 3 home runs, all 4 of Hamilton's were 2-run home runs with a man at first, and it was the same man every time, Elvis Andrus. Interesting too, the night before, Hamilton hit a 2-run home run in his last at bat, and believe it or not, the runner at first was also Elvis Andrus. So that meant Hamilton hit 5 straight home runs, each time with the same man on base. Well, Adrian has 3 home runs, all solo, and this will be his first time with anybody on base, facing the left-hander Frank Garces from the Dominican Republic. So the Dodgers had first and third, nobody out. They have failed to score. They have runners at first and third and 2 out. And here's Adrian. Garces from the Dominican does not speak very much English at all. Ball 1. He was signed by the Rangers in 2009. Came up last year. Pitched a total of 9 innings for San Diego. 1 ball and no strikes to Adrian Gonzalez. Off the plate. By the way, Adrian homered opening day, homered last night, 3 home runs tonight. No player had ever hit 5 home runs in his team's first 3 games. Gonzalez is the first. 2-0. Big slow curveball for a strike. Jock Peterson, flank. Carl Crawford. Scott Van Slyke. Another breaking ball. Ball 3. Howie Kendrick waiting on deck. Three and 1 to Adrian. Solarte 3 feet out on the grass in right field. Curveball, and it's going to be a base hit. Scoring on the play is Turner. Going to third is Puig, and Gonzalez with a base hit to drive in his 4th run, and the Dodgers lead 7-4. Adrian got another slow curve. In fact, that's the only pitch he saw. One slow curveball after another, and he bangs it for the base hit. So Turner comes home, and the Dodgers 7-11. Padres 4 runs, 9 hits. Kendrick trying to pick somebody up. Puig down the line from third. Ball 1. Fastball hit hard. Solarte is on it, and that's the inning. But the Dodgers get one thanks to the man of the night, the man of the last 3 days. Adrian Gonzalez gives the Dodgers a 7-4 lead. Wednesday, they'll be playing the Mariners at 7:10, and the first 40,000 fans in attendance receive an adult Jackie Robinson replica jersey presented by Bank of America. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. Number 42, Jackie Roosevelt Robinson. Incredible. We'll be honoring him on his day. Meanwhile, we go to the 7th. The night for Adrian Gonzalez. 3 home runs and a single. 4 RBIs, 3 runs scored, and 4 for 4. Picking up the Gold Glove and the silver bat before the game. Zach Greinke, a fine defensive player, won the Gold Glove as the pitcher. The catcher, Derek Norris, then Matt Kemp, and Justin Upton against Pedro Baez. Right. Baez came in to pitch Jerko and struck him out. Then he got Myers on a ground ball. No balls, 1 strike. Fastball hit down to short. Jimmy Rollins. That'll take care of Norris. 1 away. Matt Kemp coming up. Kemp singled in the first inning and rode home on the home run by Justin Upton. He also singled in the 5th inning. In between, he grounded to short. So Matt, 2 hits tonight, 1 hit last night, and 2 hits in the first game. So he's had 5 hits in the 3 games. J.P. Howell now gets up in the Dodger bullpen. Baez would be due to bat 3rd when the Dodgers hit in the bottom of the 7th. And a strike. It's a tough job for the umpires because they not only play and umpire the 3 games here, they go right down to San Diego to umpire the 4 games with the Padres and the Giants. And of course, they don't like to keep the umpires umpiring more than 1 series, but there was some problem with the other crew, so they'll work 7 straight games with the Padres. That's tough. 1-1. One and 2 to Matt. Baez called up in May of last year, went down, called up back again. Good fastball. That last pitch was a sharp slider. 1-2. And on the hands, a 1-hopper to Kendrick. The match jammed, grounds out, and we have 2 down. The batter will be Justin Upton. Hit a 2-run home run, struck out twice. Brandon McCarthy, while he was in there, struck out 9 in 5 innings plus. Tired, obviously, in the 6th inning. Wound up making 97 pitches, but he was very impressive. McCarthy then picked up by Paco Rodriguez, and now Pedro Baez with J.P. Howell in the pen. Upton, a towering foul ball. Grandal. Boy, that thing was really up there. So down go the Padres, and at the end of 6.5 innings, 7-4, Dodgers.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the 7th inning stretch, presented by
7-4 favor of the Dodgers. Bottom of the 7th inning, and Yasmani Grandal will start it off. He'll be followed by Crawford, and then we'll see about Baez. He's due to bat third. Frank Garces, who was called in to pitch to Gonzalez, who singled, and then got Kendrick, now on his own with Grandal. I don't know if you caught it or not, but after Zach Greinke pitched last night, and he was being interviewed by various writers, he was talking to Steve Dilbeck, and Greinke was really praising Grandal as a catcher, saying, I couldn't have asked for more. So Grandal impressing his club. For Grandal, against right-hand pitching, he had 15 home runs last year, batting left-handed, but he is 0 as far as a home run hitting right-handed. And drives one to right center. Myers on the run, and he'll pick it off. Now, I think he will do for sure in Petco Park. He can run him down. One away.
Number 3, Carl Crawford.
Carl Crawford, 2 singles and struck out, 2 for 3. Crawford with a base hit tonight, and going back to last year to September, he's hit safely in 10 straight. Scott Van Slyke will bat for Pedro Baez, and the last we looked, J.P. Howell was throwing in the Dodger bullpen. So Crawford and then Van Slyke. Ball 1. There's JP getting ready. One ball, no strikes. Ball 2. Cashner, Vincent, and Garces, McCarthy, Rodriguez, and Baez. And we're in the 7th inning. Ball 3. Crawford off to a great start quietly in the wake of the destroyer, Adrian Gonzalez. Crawford's hitting .444. That's a strike. Of course, this early, what it means, he's 4 for 9. Meanwhile, Garces grew up, and his favorite player was Pirate pitcher Francisco Liriano. He's the one who inspired him. Frank came up in August briefly last year, gets a strike, and the count 3-2. Garces originally signed with the Texas Rangers. They released him. He didn't play in 2010. Padres signed him, and he was playing in the Dominican Summer League. Fouled away. Dodgers going to Arizona. Brett Anderson will go up against Chase Anderson Friday night. Clayton Kershaw against Archie Bradley Saturday. Zach Greinke and Josh Colmenter on Sunday. Dodgers then will come home and play Seattle and Colorado. 3-2 the count. Seven runs, 11 hits for the Dodgers, 4 runs, 9 hits for the Padres. We've had 5 home runs in the game, 3 by Adrian Gonzalez. And down goes Carl. 2 out. Home runs, Justin Upton hit one in the first inning, and Will Middlebrooks hit one in the 6th.
Pinch hitting for the Dodgers, number 33.
There is Scott Van Slyke batting for Pedro Baez, who is in Uribe's spot in the double switch that brought Justin Turner in the game. Ground ball wide to third. Up with it is Middlebrooks. So that'll do it for Scotty and the Dodgers. They go quickly in the seventh. And at the end of 7, it remains Dodgers 7, Padres 4. Well, for the Dodgers, they hit the road briefly. They have the bags packed. They will leave and go over to Arizona for the weekend, but then they come home and they will play Seattle and the Colorado Rockies. Then they go back out on the road and play the Giants and the Padres on the road, and then come back here against the Giants. So there's a lot of baseball here in April, and we certainly hope you make your plan to be out here and enjoy every bit of it. J.P. Howell, good ERA, keeping the opposition to a 183 batting average last year. Howell came in briefly last night, made 9 pitches in the 8th inning, and had to come out. So we'll see how he goes tonight. Will Middlebrooks homered after striking out twice. Right-hand batter homered to right field. 0-1. Dodgers load him up on the left side. Middlebrooks, from the same town in Texas as Michael Wacha, the pitcher for the Cardinals. They played against each other in high school and finally played against each other in 2013 in the World Series, because Middlebrooks was playing for the Red Sox. He's got some power. 2 years ago, when he was playing for Boston, he had 17 home runs. 2-1. And a line drive right at Howie Kendall. Location, location, location. What would normally be a base hit, just an out. And we have one down. The birthday boy, Yonder Alonso, 28 today, and enjoying a pretty good night. He has a single and a double, struck out, scored a run, committed an error, however. And ball 1. Sean Kelly begins to warm up in the bullpen for San Diego. You remember, it was Kelly who gave up that big 3-run home run to Jimmy Rollins in the 8th inning of Game 1. Right. Bud Black is hoping, as the manager, hoping that he will get a productive year. You know, he's been the manager of San Diego for 8 years. He followed Bruce Bochy. And where Bochy has 3 World Series rings, Black has 2 years where the Padres finished above 500. For the last 8 and 3 straight, Padres have scored 75, 76, 77, 78. That's it. So it's been a long time for a very good manager. He's also had 4 different front offices and general managers to contend with. 2-2. JP 2-2 with Solarte on deck. Sliced foul off to the right. JP has made 9 pitches. Grandal out to talk to him. Yonder Alonso, 4 straight opening day games. He had a very good spring training. Pretty good hitters. Lifetime batting average about 6 years in the big leagues, 271. Hit up the middle. So for Alonso, celebrating his birthday, he goes 3 for 4.
Number 26, Yangervis Solarte.
So the Padres, no slouches. They've had 10 hits, but their pitching has been pushed around. Solarte, switch hitter, turning around to hit right-handed. Grounded out, double to right twice. Those at bats coming against Brandon McCarthy. On the corner, 0-1. The one pitcher in the Dodger bullpen who has not seen any action, Joel Peralta, and he is up throwing behind J.P. Howell. Everybody had seen pitch last night. Peralta did pitch in the first game, but last night Baez, Rodriguez, Garcia, Howell, Hatcher, Nicasio. 0-1. Hit foul off to the right, out of play. The paid attendance tonight turns out to be a sellout. 52,204. Oh, and 2. By the way, Adrian Gonzalez will be due up 5th in the bottom of the 8th inning. In talking about Adrian Gonzalez having 3 home runs in a game, there's someone else in a Dodger uniform who shared that experience. Tim Wallach, the Dodgers hitting coach, bench coach now, had a 3 home run game in Atlanta, May the 4th, 1987. The Expos lost the game 10-7. They had a huge crowd of 4,000 in Atlanta. That's all. So it was rumored that Tim Wallach hit 3. By the way, 3 home runs for Wallach. Well, he hit 260 in his career. Gonzalez with 3 home runs tonight has hit 267 in his career. 2-2. Seven-4 Dodgers, eighth inning. So Solarte bites the dust. That'll be the second out. Steve Barmes got into the game as a pinch hitter for Alexei Amarista, and Barmes struck out.
Number 12, Cliff Barmes.
Barmes 1 for 1. Two out in the eighth, 7-4, favor of the Dodgers. Ground ball to the right side to Howie Kendrick, and that'll be that. No runs, one hit, a man left. Nice inning for J.P. Howell, and we're heading for the bottom of the eighth inning. 7-4 Dodgers. .com at bat on your smartphone or tablet. You can stay connected with live radio broadcasts, stats, breaking news, and a lot more. Download MLB.com at bat, the #1 app for live baseball. Sean Kelly coming back in after giving up that big 3-run home run opening day to Jimmy Rollins. Big boy out of Louisville, Kentucky. Went to Austin Peay, stayed in Tennessee. First pitch fouled away. 0-1 to Jock Peterson. Peterson has walked, struck out, and doubled. Scored a run. Meanwhile, two pretty fair hitters shoulder to shoulder. Adrian Gonzalez, Mark McGwire. 1-1 the count to young Jock. Sean Kelly has certainly been around. He was signed by the Mariners back in 2007. He was up and down with them and finally went to the Yankees in 2013. Big fella at 6'2", 220. So Jock Peterson facing the right-hander. That's a strike. 2-2. So down goes Peterson. He strikes out a second time. And the batter will be Justin Turner.
Justin Turner.
Justin Turner, in a double switch, wound up batting ninth. And in the sixth inning, had an at bat, grounded a single to left field with 2 strikes. 1 for 1, eventually came around to score in that sixth inning. When the Padres come up in the ninth inning, they'll have the pitcher spot, Myers and Norris, and if anybody gets on, Matt Kemp. Couple of players left in the Padre dugout to serve as pinch hitters. Corey Spangenberg, he's left-handed. Will Venable, the veteran outfielder, he's left-handed. And Will Nieves, who is right-handed. On the mound pitching the eighth inning for the Dodgers was J.P. Howell. So again, the question in who is the closer? Well, we've seen Chris Hatcher. 2-1 the count. Peralta, who did not pitch last night, did pitch briefly in game 1. And Peralta is loosening up, so he might be asked to close it up tonight. Drive to left, going back and right in front of it now. Upton puts it away. So Turner lines out, 2 down, and Jimmy Rollins coming up.
Jimmy Rollins.
Rollins 0 for 4. Fly to center, reached on the error by Alonso, grounded out again and struck out. Did pick up an RBI. Remember, he was called out at first base. They reversed the call on the play. Uribe scored. Ball 1. Jimmy with 4 runs batted in. Remember, he hit that 3-run home run against Kelly, so now they're looking at each other. And that one's fouled back out of play. 1 ball and 1 strike. It's fastball alley directly above us behind home plate. Arizona just around the corner for the Dodgers starting Friday night. Brett Anderson against Chase Anderson. And a drive into right center, going back on the ball is Myers, reaching up, can't make it. It's off his glove. Kemp has to go over and pick it up, and Rollins is on his way to third, standing with what I assume will be a triple. Myers got his glove on the ball, but that's it. So for Kelly, at least he kept it in the park. Gave up a 3-run home run to Jimmy, got a high fastball, and Rollins really turned on it. And it will go as a triple. Myers reaches up. It hit him right in the glove, so it's a charitable triple. We've been commending Myers, doing a fine job in center field, but he should have caught that ball. So Rollins with a triple. Rollins, back in 2007, when he was the MVP, had, believe it or not, 20 triples. The last player to do that for the Phillies, Nap Lajoie, way back in 1897. So Rollins at third, all smiles. Puig trying to pick him up. It would be fun for Puig to get aboard, and Adrian Gonzalez would then have one last at bat tonight. Remember, Adrian has 3 home runs and a single. So he waits, and it's up to Puig. Fastball strike, 1 and 2. Puig hitting less than 100. 0 for 4 tonight. They figure he'll get some good pitches to hit, hitting in front of Gonzalez, but it hasn't worked yet. One ball, 2 strikes. 2-2. Well, you kind of hope, not that you're rooting against the Padres, but you kind of hope that Puig would get aboard and allow Adrian to have one last shot at hitting 4 home runs in a game. So Yasiel will decide that. 2-2. And that's fouled back. Still 2-2. 7-4 Dodgers, bottom of the 8th inning. $52,000 here tonight. The 2-2 pitch. Ball 3. So it's a big pitch for everybody in the ballpark, and especially for Adrian Gonzalez. Can Puig extend the inning so Adrian can have one last shot? 3 home runs and a single tonight. So here's going to be the big pitch. 3-2. Fastball whacked to center, going back and picking it off is Myers. So unless there's a huge rally in the 9th inning, we will not see Adrian swing the bat one more time. At the end of 8, 7-4 Dodgers. Three home runs and a single. So he scored 3, knocked in 4. A perfect night. The night where before the game he got the Gold Glove and the silver bat. So Joe Peralta coming in, trying to close it up. Peralta appeared in game 1. In the 8th inning, he got Matt Kemp to pop up. Upton singled. Middlebrooks grounded into a double play. So Joel, a veteran, 39 years old, from the Dominican, originally signed by the Oakland A's. Played with the Angels, a lot with the Royals, Colorado, Nationals, and Rays, and now with the Dodgers. Will Venable is the batter for Sean Kelly. Breaking ball strike, 0-1. Venable, a Princeton Tiger, terrific basketball player. His father Max played for many years. No balls, 1 strike. 0-2. So the Padres use Cashner, Vincent, Garces, and Kelly. Venable is hitting for Kelly. The Dodgers, McCarthy, Rodriguez, Baez, Howell, and now Peralta. 0-2. Kenley Jansen, who was actually playing a little catch without the boot, but he's still away. He's probably maybe the middle of May, maybe. They also serve, who only stand and wait. One and two to Venable. Bouncer foul. Jose Valentin takes care of it. So Peralta working on a 1-2 count. Peralta's number one pitch is a splitter. He also has a fastball and a slider. Slider kind of a go-to pitch. 1-2. That's the splitter, down and dirty, and a 2-ball, 2-strike count. Peralta stands 5'11", 205-pounder. He and J.P. Howell have been teammates now on 3 teams: Kansas City, Tampa Bay, and the Dodgers. Fastball hit to Kendrick, and one away. So Venable rolls out. That'll bring up the center fielder, Will Myers.
Will Myers.
Dodgers trying to take 2 out of 3 from the Padres and move on to Arizona. One of the better teams the Dodgers will see in quite a while, from what we've heard, would be the Seattle Ball Club coming in here on Monday the 13th. There are a lot of people who think Seattle will win their division. Myers 0 for 4. Popped up, struck out, grounded out twice. He has 1 hit in 12 at-bats, and it was a big hit last night. And that's going to be hit into left field for a base hit. So Crawford gets it back in. A 1-out single left by Myers will bring up the catcher,
Number 3,
Derek Norris.
Derek Norris.
And of course, if he tries to keep the inning alive, then you get Kemp and Upton. Those who are involved in it say, you would think it's easy. They say to you, here, pitch 1 inning. But it is a totally different experience, apparently, when you are asked to pitch 1 inning, and it is the 9th, the end of the game inning. Totally different. And ball 1. Dodgers using 4 relievers after McCarthy, so that's 5 pitchers. They used 7 last night. That's 12, and 4 in game 1. So 16 pitches in the 3 games. Big breaking ball for a strike, and the count 1-1. Norris has struck out and walked, singled, and grounded to short. Catcher runs well, 1 for 3. One and 1. And that's hit in the air to left center. Peterson has to really go to get it. He's on the track, makes the catch. Boy, that's the sign of a big league outfielder. You turn your back, and you are such a good judge of the ball. You go, and then you turn back, and there it is.
Number 27, Matt Kemp.
There's the back turn. Now turns, and there's the ball. You really have to have a feel to be able to turn your back and your head and still come up with the ball. That's right out of Joe DiMaggio, Willie Mays. We're not saying that Jock Peterson is Joe DiMaggio or Willie Mays, but it's out of their book. Okay, 2 down in the 9th inning. Matt Kemp with his foot in the door, and Justin Upton on deck. Kemp has singled, grounded out, singled, grounded out again. 2 for 4, and has enjoyed a good series. And going to first base, Will Myers. They call it defensive indifference, no stolen base. Now Grandal out to talk to Peralta. Matt Kemp opening day had a single and a double. Last night he had a single and a walk. 2 hits tonight, so he's had 5 hits in the 3 games. Hitting number 3 and in front of Justin Upton. Two out, runner at second. Dodgers lead 7-4. Each team with 11 hits. 0-2. Big crowd tonight, 52,204, seeing Adrian Gonzalez hit 3 home runs and a single, and the Dodgers leading 7-4 with 2 out in the 9th. And Kemp strikes out, and that will do it. No runs, a hit. 7-11 for the Dodgers, 4 runs, 11 hits, and 2 errors for the Padres.